Welcome viewers to my channel. Those of you who watched my earlier videos would have noticed that many of the events that I have foreseen in the past few months has happened. Though the Indian government has countered the diabolical game by the enemy China, its responses has only prolonged the suffering and postponed the inevitable. So many interesting geopolitical developments has happened in the past few weeks. Most important for us is how close the Indian Airforce came to be completely paralyzed by China, if not saved by the actions of US President Donald Trump. Watch on to know how Narendra Modi's and Donald Trump's destiny are linked together, and so are the two pillars of democracies in the world. I will explain how the blackout in Pakistan is connected to the IAF and Trump's presidency. Watch on for a preview of exciting and unprecedented events that will change the world as we know it. I will tell you the details after a brief look at the situation in India's borders. Watch this video in full to get a clearer picture of unfolding events. I believe India has made a costly mistake by not immediately going to war with China at Ladakh. It could have completely surprised the Chinese and they would have been decimated. If India intended, it could have taken over parts of Chinese-occupied Tibet and closed Chinese direct access to Pakistan. India could have allowed Tibet to be governed autonomously by Tibetan refugees in India, with India providing security to the Tibetan nation. They had reason enough, as the Chinese were the cause of provocation. Had India retaliated immediately, the ill-equipped Chinese forces at the border would have withdrawn. Things would not have escalated into nuclear war because of the reasons I mentioned in my last video. China will not start nuclear war. What India has done by delaying the response is only allowing China to increase its mobilization and prepare for war. Now, our option is limited to taking over POK, but the window of action will not stay open much longer. China had intended to increase its troop levels at Indian border so that when time is right and its naval resources are ready, and the geopolitical forces are tied up in the pandemic, it can cut off India's northeast. It has also intended to keep the LAC hot by being aggressive at the border to prevent any Indian action in POK at the behest of Pakistan. If one looks at the map of Asia, one can clearly see why separating India's northeast is so crucial for China. China's power projection on world oceans can only be successful if it has access to both the Arabian Sea and the Bay of Bengal. It has been partially successful by making Pakistan its puppet. India is in a position to destroy these plans as India has legitimate rights over POK, and any Indian action in POK will cut off Chinese access to the Arabian Sea. Also, a powerful India will not let China control the Bay of Bengal. China has been providing weapons, money and training to militants in Indians northeast states for the past many decades in order to set up an alternate government in the northeast state that will do its bidding. A strong militant movement will be used by China to cut off India at the Siliguri corridor. The Chinese would then use the militant government to gain access to Bay of Bengal. Things would have gone the Chinese way if Congress had ruled India, which did nothing to curb the militancy in northeast. Now the situation has changed. Narendra Modi Ajit Doval team is wiping out militancy threat to ruin the Chinese plan of dominating the world order. Hence the resort to violence at the LAC by China. China will keep the LAC and northeast militancy simultaneously flared up while it increases presence in India's western border with Pakistan. China will build up presence in the LAC, LOC and Pakistan border until Indian military is unable to advance or capture territory. So far it seems India is short-sighted or far too shy to play the offensive game. It is only a matter of time before the enemy strikes. India's win cannot be secured without going on the offensive. India could have stopped China and Pakistan in early 2020 by taking decisive move to capture a small part of Tibet, which is under occupation by China. Now the only option is to immediately seize POK. If not, India will be surrounded by China in a short while by the large Chinese naval fleet that it has kept ready for deployment. Also, a United States under Biden, who is a non-Chinese affiliate, will do nothing to stop the Chinese domination. The political developments in the United States will have serious ramifications for Indian security. While these serious situations are developing in India's borders with China and Pakistan were secretly playing a great game which could have completely crippled Indian fighter jet program and grounded the IAF fleet. Had not the dramatic intervention by President Donald Trump, the USA and India would have lost to China and Pakistan. All of India's fighter jet development programs such as LCA Tejas, Tejas Mark 1A, MCA, TED-BF and AMCA are designed to use the engines from one international supplier, the General Electric. GE F404 engines are already being used in LCA Tejas, and all squadrons of Tejas fighters will fly on this engine as the engine were already supplied by GE. Also, future programs are designed keeping in mind the GE F414 INS-6 engines. GE is a world leader in engine technology. Since IAF is heavily dependent on the GE engines, any supply or maintenance disruption would have caused grounding of IAF's newly inducted LCA Tejas squadrons. If IAF is forced to look for alternatives, it would mean redesigning the jets, which would take decades to fulfill. IAF is counting on the induction of Tejas, MCA and AMCA in very short time span to arrest the declining fighter jet strength and replace its vintage fleet. Any delay would reduce the IAF fleet to nearly half the present strength. It would be hard put to defend Indian territory. Enemies of India can then easily nibble at its land or capture large territories. Such a situation would make IAF's Andaman and Nicobar Command very vulnerable to capture by the Chinese. On the 8th of January 2021, China and Pakistan had in secret arranged a deal with GE to sell the company to a Chinese firm which essentially is controlled by the CCP. The deal, supposedly worth $500 billion, is to be signed in Pakistan. The deal was facilitated by a leading European power, which is not surprising, since the CCP has infiltrated many capitals of the world, and many world leaders are covertly and overtly facilitating the Chinese, a fact that has now come to open due to a recent leak from the CCP in which more than 2 million foreign assets of the Chinese Communist Party has come to light. Countries such as Italy, Germany and Canada were openly in support of China, even in defiance of NATO. If the deal had gone through, even the US Air Force would have become dependent on China. President Donald Trump, during his tenure, has investigated the connections of the CCP in the US administration and politics through the Pentagon and has collected evidence against them. Many of the Democratic Party members and some Republicans are paid by CCP and are in the control of Chinese. The Chinese government also secretly controls many American corporates. Trump had worked hard to insulate the American government from their influence. Now, since Trump has all the evidence and planning to arrest these individuals and corporate barons and tech giants, all of them are together trying to destroy him. The last few days of presidency of Trump would be enough for him to expose this axis of evil. Hence, the Democrats are hell-bent on removing Trump from office through impeachment. But Trump has the military at his side and is not giving up. He has set in motion process to arrest Biden and other conspirators who hacked the election and stole his historic mandate. The recent American election was hacked by the CCP using the Leonardo constellation of satellites which are controlled by Italy, and also through the Chinese deep cover agents in the US government and political parties to facilitate Joe Biden's presidency. The present world order is controlled by a few corporate houses and private banks which control the global institutions. They have amassed countless wealth in secret by manipulating the system. They could make or break countries. These dark forces controls the world order through the deep state within many governments and even the United States where it is too powerful. Donald Trump's election as President of the United States has upset the deep state as Trump has grown his empire in defiance of the establishment controlled by the deep state. They were not able to buy off Trump. What I say here may sound like a works of fiction for most of you, but sadly, as a geopolitical observer, all recent events point otherwise. Anyone who follows international news could pick up the hints easily as the pieces are now moving into place rapidly in the global geopolitics. Biden's ascendance to power is helped by the deep state, which is in league with the Chinese regime. Most of American media houses are controlled by them, and they will not let the truth be told. Donald Trump's turning around the USA from its declining power and economic strength back to becoming world leader has deeply upset the plans of the deep state, so much so that they so brazenly rigged the election of the US president. Trump's popularity has grown since 2016, since he turned the economy around against overwhelming odds and his enemies attacking him from all sides. Trump has the backing of US military and is under the military protection. The military intelligence and Pentagon have overwhelming evidence against Joe Biden and team and have identified the deep state conspirators. Soon Biden and team would be arrested and put to trial in the military courts, and the other conspirators worldwide would be secretly taken out by the US military. The Chinese-controlled General Electric Company would debilitate the IAF ability to operate and defend in their skies. On the 10th of January 2021, it could be 8th, when the deal is supposed to be signed, there was massive power failure in Pakistan, which put the whole country of Pakistan in darkness. This was a secret US military operation ordered by Donald Trump to prevent the deal. It is concluded that many important people are taken out by the US military and are under custody. Similar operations are also going on in Italy, the United States of America, and the military is firmly in control. Biden will be arrested and Donald Trump will be back as president, which will be good news for India and bad news for China. And nothing need to be said about Pakistan, which backstabbed Trump and will be forever in Trump's blacklist, and Trump is not likely to forget. I will give further updates regarding the events as they unfold. Watch out for my next update and subscribe and press the notification bell. Thank you. Welcome viewers to my channel.